Hello everybody, welcome back. This is Mandy and I'm still using up some paint, and I was remembering this really cool color combination that I saw someone do, and I tried it a couple times. I did a couple coasters with it and they were really pretty, and then I did a bloom on a black pillow with it, and so I happen to have all of those colors mixed up and some of them really need to be used. So I'm gonna try the same colors. So we'll see what happens. So the regular paint color we're gonna do is Southern Ocean Blue from Matisse. I get that from Blick. I have a link to Blick in the description box. Interference Violet from Colourarte. And as you can see, this is not necessarily old. I've mixed up this big old tub not that long ago. But the Nebula Star from Colourarte it has been mixed up a while and it is a little thick. So I'm also going to thin it down with a little bit of Sonja. So while I'm doing that, just a couple of things. So these three colors I'm using from Colourarte, other than the interference colors, are primary elements, but they're part of the Glitz collection. So they have a little bit more opacity than regular primary elements. So normally, if you were to use a regular primary element and you were only to use one tube paint color, and you spread that out over all that white paint, you know, your colors are going to look very muted after they stretch out over a plain white base because they're somewhat transparent. So these are, instead of being semi-transparent, they're semi-opaque. So they have a little bit more color opacity, which means that you can use them in more layers and see maybe a little less of the, not color loss. This is Nebula Star. But you won't see as significant of an impact when you're stretching it out over that surface. Now this is Interference Blue. This one was mixed up a while and I thinned it down with a little bit of Sonja. Unfortunately, that introduced a lot of bubbles, so I may or may not use the Interference Blue because it now has just quite a bit of bubbles. And I don't want to have a bunch of bubbles pop as the bloom dries. So I may skip the Interference Blue and just use Interference Violet, because there will be other bubbles introduced by some of these other colors because they have not been mixed in a long time, and so now that they've been mixed, they obviously have more bubbles. So this is Cupid's Crush from Colourarte. You can see that color shift of the bluish violet in there. Beautiful color. And this one is Tinted Tulip, which is one of my all-time favorite pinks from Colourarte. So don't forget there is a 20% discount code for anything on the Colourarte website in my description box, which is Mandy1120. If you missed our recent collaboration on Sunday, depending on when you see this video, of course, you can still go back and watch the collaboration, and you still have time to submit your secret phrase and comment on the individual channels. So yeah, so I'm going to put down my pillow paint. So this is my Valspar Eggshell. I do have a bloom tutorial in the description box where I kind of show you generally some good ingredients for the blooms in the United States. It is not comprehensive of everything that I use, but it is helpful. And I also explain the different components of the bloom recipe. So if you're not in the United States, you can at least still understand, okay, if I'm going to buy my pillow paint, you know, I'm going to buy a low sheen pillow paint, you know, that kind of stuff. So Did I put enough pillow paint down? Maybe not. I'm working on not using too much, but it may have not quite been enough. It probably was, but anyway, so I have discount codes in the description box below for you. I use Australian Floetrol in my Cell Activator. It's just easier. There are ways to make American Floetrol work. Kudos to those of you who do. I just love Australian Floetrol. It's easier. I get it from Pixel Paint Designs, which is also where I get my Boom Gels. She ships from the United States, and there's a 10% discount code in there for you. I get a lot of questions about what Cell Activator is, so I really need to like maybe just make a video on it, but you know, when I have time. So we're going to put the Southern Ocean Blue on the bottom and on the top, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to use a black and white Cell Activator. Probably am. So the good thing about using an acrylic paint on the bottom and on your top layer is because pigments, when you mix pigments, you're sort of mixing paint, right? And so this is the Interference Violet, and the little particulates in your pigments sometimes don't stretch out perfectly over paint without flocculating a little bit. And what I mean by flocculation is when that pigment starts to kind of break apart, because they don't on their own have binders until you mix them into something that has a binder. So this untinted paint is a binder. It's going to bind it together, but sometimes they flocculate a little bit easier than regular paint. So if you have a regular acrylic paint on the bottom and then on the top, you kind of sandwich your layers really nicely to provide some additional structure. So that was Nebula Star. This is, what did I say this is? Cupid's Crush. It's one of my favorite reds. I remember when I first saw this combination, I was like, that's kind of a strange combination. Nebula Star and Cupid's Crush. But man, the colors when they started to all kind of bloom together were really great. And so this is Tinted Tulip. My dog just snuck out of here to try to go scratch. So I'm gonna have to bring him back. Now I always use too much paint, and here I am adding more. Okay. All right, and then Southern Ocean Blue underneath the Cell Activator. I'm going to put the black down first, and then the white. I suppose I could have also done a blue and a black. All right, so I'm using up some lamp black from Amsterdam that I mixed a long time, well, not a long time ago, but a little bit ago. When I was out of my Graham lamp black, which is my favorite. And so I'm trying to use up what I already mixed, but my titanium white is Graham. Both of them I get at Blick, and I usually, with a regular like medium body paint, I usually do about 3 parts Aussie Floetrol to 1 part paint. If you get into heavy body paints like your Atelier Interactive, that kind of stuff, I kind of start with that same logic and make my way up to 4, if necessary, 4 parts. But usually your Cell Activator, if it's the right consistency, kind of feels like heavy whipping cream. That's kind of about what it feels like if you were to stir it. I hope that's enough. Okay. I'm working on the blow, so let's see here. Stupid bubbles. Now see, if I had used the interference blue, I would have had even more bubbles, so. Ooh. Yikes. That I kind of just messed up, but some other parts are going pretty well. Not the greatest blow, but let's see what we can make of it. The center still has quite a bit of Cell Activator in it, so we bring you in so you can see a little bit better, hopefully. And then see where what I just did right there. That's gonna leave a kind of a white tongue looking thing. I should have just left it a little heavy-handed in the center, but I already did it, so now we're just gonna make it work somehow. What I'm doing there is just kind of breaking the surface tension where I have too much Cell Activator in the middle, because I certainly have quite a bit still there. So while I'm letting it come through, I'm going to pop a couple bubbles. If you're new to my channel, I've done blooms for almost 2 years, but it wasn't until recently that I was determined to get better at blowing them out myself. So if you're here, you're joining me on that journey, and I can tell you kind of what you're supposed to do, but I'm definitely still a work in progress. Blowing out blooms is kind of hard, so, you know, you kind of have to be patient with yourself. But I was kind of just not okay with being bad at it, and so I was like, I'm just going to use a hairdryer or whatever, which is cool. It's just that you can't always control the composition as well with a hairdryer, and I wanted the ability to do that, you know, so that was part of my reasoning for it. So you can see as we kind of were patient, the center started to develop a little bit. We still have some opportunities, but I'm just patiently kind of waiting a little bit. You can't wait too long, but I'm just trying to pop some of these obnoxious bubbles while we let the center develop. I do have enough pillow paint, so even though this isn't perfectly blown out, it will probably spin out okay. I am tempted to kind of wreck this part right here where I over blew a little bit, you know, like that didn't really help much. For some reason, sometimes you guys wreck things and they look great, and I think I overthink the wrecking process, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So We still have quite a bit of Cell Activator in the center. But we're probably going to have to start spinning it out. So far the colors are amazing together, and I remember them being just beyond beautiful together. So yay for that. Let's see what we get when we spin it out. There's something obnoxious in the paint there. So yeah, we're going to give it a gentle spin. Try to see how much we can control the composition. Making sure this is not messing up and going on autofocus for you guys. So we still have quite a bit of Cell Activator in the middle. Beautiful stuff happening here on the edges in some places. Before we get all the way to the edge though, I want to see if there's any hope of breaking some of this up. But I am also afraid to overwork it. So when you do that, and forgive me if this is redundant, when you do this, all you're doing is breaking the surface tension to allow stuff that's already trying to come through, like those, to come through. You're not trying to create the cells by blowing them, even though it kind of looks like you are. You're just trying to break the surface tension and allow what's kind of trapped under all that paint to come through. So I don't know how well you can see this, but I love all of these tiny little cells and lacing. They're so cool looking. I have enough paint left over. Maybe I'll make a set of coasters. The perils of using too much Cell Activator, right? Then you got to overwork the middle. But the problem is if you use too little, then as you're practicing and blowing and trying to get around the circle, you run out of Cell Activator before you run out of circle. So ideally the way you should blow, and the way I learned it taking the course, is you want to get a good breath and gently blow to enlarge your circle. And then as you're enlarging it, you want to pull your head back so that that circle becomes wider and broader and covers more of your surface area. So like, I know in theory what I'm supposed to do. It's just sometimes the execution is the hard part for me. My black Cell Activator is also a smidge thick, and since we started with the black, it's been mixed up a little bit. And since we started with the black, it's taking a little bit longer for it to break through. But all this messing around I'm doing, where I blow on the center, it is letting cells come through, but it's also it's causing the paint to kind of pull into the other colors a little bit more than if that wasn't there. So, you know, just know that when you do those things to break up the surface tension and all that, you kind of want to be aware that if you overdo it, it can mess with your composition a little bit. So these are all things you learn along the way. So just sharing those things with you guys. So I think we're probably getting as much action out of the center as we're going to get without really screwing it up. But we got some nice cells coming through. So considering that we had some challenges with thicker paint from it being a little bit older, and had the challenges of a Cell Activator being slightly thick on the bottom and a little bit too much of it, I think this bloom is actually turning out pretty nice. The colors are very vibrant and beautiful. You have the really cool dramatic center and the really pretty sides. Now I tend to use a lot of paint. If I didn't use so much paint, you would see a lot more of like this throughout instead of just on the edges. So, you know, those are the things that you learn as you go. I'm always afraid, because I use a lot of pigments, I'm always afraid that if I don't use enough paint, I may not have as much like richness in my color as I'm looking for. But it is challenging to find the right balance between too much and not enough. Because I do love all of this, and if it was all throughout the bloom, it would be even really cool. So I kind of also wonder what it would look like if we did one with just white Cell Activator. And we have enough to go again. So let me bring you down for a close-up. I can't decide if I'm going to do that on this video because it would make it kind of long, or on a separate one. But I think this turned out really pretty. And little 8-inch bloom, not too bad. So definitely my biggest takeaway from this is I used way too much Cell Activator. So yeah, this is already 21 minutes. So if I go again, it'll be a different video, but a lot of Cell Activator, left a lot in the middle. In fact, do we have enough off? I guess we do. But that weird white part almost went to the edge, so it's right here. Almost went to the edge, so that's kind of cool. So I'm still a fan of this one. I think like I said, my biggest takeaway is I used a little too much Cell Activator, so I didn't get the beautiful center quite down like I would like. So that's just still a learning experience, especially when you're using 2 at a time. So let me bring you down. All right, everyone. I don't think my flash is on. Okay, now it is. So this is the kind of detail that is just so beautiful, and I want to kind of learn that balance so that I can see this throughout the whole thing. Is this beautiful? Yes, I love this part. But I do want to learn this balance of having that kind of lacing and color throughout. So I probably will go again and do white Cell Activator. So look out for that in a future video. But the colors are amazing together. They really, really are. And you know, even a black Cell Activator would look great by itself. It just might be a little dark in the center. So you might have to put like white or something underneath it. But anyway, let me know what you think. I think one of my favorite parts is this right here. So the center, you can see we still have like a river of Cell Activator there, and that can cause problems when it dries because that is thinner than your paint. So the Cell Activator will kind of try to travel into the paint a little bit. You can see it a little bit right here. So as it dries, it can cause challenges, but I'm not going to scrape it because you guys have given me feedback to not be so quick to scrape things. And I think it is beautiful, and I think resin it'll be beautiful, and it's, you know, it's just a little 8-incher, so so yeah, I think I like it a lot. I do want to go again and try to ease up on the paint a little bit and do just white and see how that turns out. So look for that in a future video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Please let me know you're here. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss anything in the future. And I also I started working on a little 12-inch board to prep it for a little geode. I'm going to use some moon rocks from Colourarte, and I've never done a geode, but I love them. So that'll be coming soon. It'll probably take a while for the video to come out, but I'm working on one. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks for all your support. Bye.